Hello everyone, how are you today? Welcome to another video for the Grammar 2 course. As you may remember, we are currently dealing with reported speech. Also known as indirect speech, reported speech consists of retelling, that is to say reporting, the words of another person. When reporting a sentence, some aspects need to be taken into account. For instance, reported speech features some characteristics such as number 1, backshift, that is to say, verb tenses change for a form or for a tense back in time. Number 2, changes in pronouns depending on the subjects and also on the objects in the sentence. And number 3, changes in time and also place expressions. They also change for forms in a past time or with a past reference. Moreover, it is important to note that there are two general reporting verbs which are different. Number 1, we have say, which is not followed by an indirect object. For example, he said he would help. And tell, which has to be followed by an indirect object. In case it is a pronoun, remember that the personal pronoun needs to go in the object form. For example, he told me he would help. Note here that the inclusion of that is not compulsory when reporting. Finally, we also covered how to report questions. In brief, depending on the type of question you have, some variations appear in reported speech. In the case of yes-no questions, the subordinators if or whether must appear. For example, he asked if I lived there. In the case you are in front of a WH question, the WH word, also known as question word, has to be maintained. For example, he asked where I lived. Note here that the question marks are not present and that when reporting, the order of words is that of sentences. That is to say, you need to follow subject and verb and then object or rest of the sentence. Having reviewed these points, it is time for us to move on and speak about how to report commands. In order to report commands, certain verbs are needed. For instance, we will use tell, order, command, and forbid. Say cannot be used to report commands. Once you have chosen the verb, it is important to pay attention to the pattern they need to follow. For instance, reporting verb plus the person, that can be a noun or a pronoun in the object form, and the to infinitive. Look at the following examples. Do not enter the room, he said. He ordered us not to enter the room. She said, bring him immediately. She commanded us to bring him immediately. Go away, he told us. He told us to go away. Pay attention now to these details. First, in the negative or negative sentences, not comes before the to infinitive. He ordered us not to enter the room. And number 2, forbid must be followed by a verb in the affirmative. That is to say, for example, he forbade us to enter the room. Last but not least, we will cover the last topic in today's class. Some reporting verbs purely reflect the intention of the speaker. These are known as specific reporting verbs, and you will be using them in all the exercises from now on. Look at these examples. I am sorry, I shouldn't have hurt you. This person is apologizing. Thus, the reporting verb should be apologize. Consequently, the reported speech sentence should be he apologized for hurting me. In the same way, you should stop smoking, the doctor said, is giving advice. The reporting verb is advise. Thus, our sentence should be he advised me to stop smoking. Another example could be, I promise I will not tell anyone. In this case, making a promise, the reporting verb is also promise. The reporting sentence should look like this. He promised not to tell anyone. The main characteristic of reporting verbs is that the verbs, that follow them, do not follow the rules of backshift. In most of the cases, there are 4 patterns to respect. Number 1, verbs followed by the gerund. Number 2, verbs followed by the to infinitive. Number 3, verbs followed by a that clause. And finally, verbs followed by a person and then the to infinitive. Having said this is the end of today's lesson. Please do not forget that Zoom meetings are held every Thursday at 11 a.m. This Thursday, we will be looking into specific reporting verbs in depth. So please try to be present. Have a nice day.